I've lived with a stutter since I was a kid. It's usually manageable, but it flares up in stressful situations. Nothing used to stress me out more than spending the holidays with my wife's family. My wife, Lisa, loved Christmas. Her family made a big production out of it every year. She'd drag me along to her parents' place, a big suburban dream home with a wide porch, inflatable snowmen on the lawn, lights glittering from the roof. It almost seemed wholesome from the outside, except last Christmas changed everything. We arrived on Christmas Eve. Inside, her dad, Kobe, lurked by the TV in the living room, half watching a football game as we all settled in around the dinner table. Lisa's mom, Donna, laid out ham, mashed potatoes, string beans, classic holiday spread. Lisa's sister, Malene, and her husband, Sean, made small talk about the weather. Meanwhile, I could sense Lisa was in a strange mood. She'd been on her phone constantly on the drive over, texting someone and smiling in a sly, secret way. At dinner, Donna asked about our plans for the new year. I was trying to reply, explaining that we were sav. I tried to say saving. Kobe frowned, eyes on me. I felt the old dread. My words started catching in my throat. We're saving, money for a trip to... Without warning, Lisa cut in with an exaggerated imitation of my stutter. She contorted her face and voice, going, We're going to see Colorado. She even jerked her shoulders like it was part of my stutter. It was so over the top that the entire table froze, and then her father burst into raucous laughter. I all but choked on my embarrassment. My cheeks burned. I gave a forced laugh, hoping we could move on. But Lisa wasn't done. She sneered at me across the table, her eyes almost gleeful. Look at him struggling like a broken machine, she said. Maybe if we turn him off and on again, he'll learn to speak like a normal person. Kobe reached over and literally high-fived her. I caught Malene lowering her gaze to her plate, her face pale. Donna shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. I had no backup here. So I swallowed my humiliation, pushed my chair back, mumbled an excuse. I'll go clear the plates. That's when I heard them from the kitchen, still mocking me. Lisa's voice was the loudest. He can't even defend himself, she commented. Kobe snorted. I know, right? By the time we drove home that night, I'd never felt so humiliated. The entire ride was silent. She was on her phone, texting, occasionally letting out these little smirks. I finally confronted her in our living room, voice trembling. What you did, that was so humiliating, I said. She rolled her eyes. It was just a joke, she answered. God, you are too sensitive. This is why people find it hard to be around you. You suck all the fun out of a room. I slept on the couch, mind churning. The word broken machine stuck in my head. Her laughter, Kobe's enjoyment. If I'd known then what was really going on, how deep her betrayal went, I might have cut my losses immediately, but it was only the beginning. By morning, Lisa hopped in the shower while her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A single notification changed my life forever. It was from her friend. OMG, that video of him stuttering at dinner was hilarious. Your dad's reaction stunned me. She recorded me, posted it somewhere. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay calm. She'd always been on social media a lot, but I never thought she'd mock me so publicly. When she left the apartment for groceries, I dug through our shared cloud storage. There it all was, a folder of videos capturing moments when I stumbled over words. She'd captioned them with things like hubby.x has stopped working, buffering, and error 404 speech not found. Worse were the comments her friends left, encouraging her, laughing at me as if I were a viral sideshow. Some of these clips had been filmed months earlier. I kept digging. There were also text messages between her and her father, ridiculing me, and texts with friends, calling me an embarrassment, or referencing times she told strangers I had a mental disability so they wouldn't ask why I talked that way. That stung, but it was about to get far worse. I discovered messages with a man named Cormac, who apparently worked with Lisa. The text went back 5 years, which meant their affair started 2 years before she and I even got married. I recognized the name from half-forgotten mentions. Lisa had once introduced him at our wedding as Dad's friend from a business partnership. They'd brazenly invited him to watch us exchange vows when he was the real object of her affection. And Kobe, dear father-in-law, had known about it and covered for them because he and Cormac shared big business deals. The texts were explicit. Cormac, wish you were here in my bed. So done with the facade. Lisa, I know, but we've kept him in the dark this long. Dad's on board, don't worry. Cormac, you think Stutter Boy suspects? Lisa, trust me, he's clueless. Stutter Boy, my wife, my father-in-law, they'd orchestrated an entire life behind my back. Every time Lisa was working late or going out with friends, he was there. Kobe not only condoned it, but actively assisted. I felt physically sick. My stutter, their joke, was apparently the least of my problems. I confronted Lisa. I showed her the screenshots of the stutter videos. She shrugged like it was no big deal. You're snooping? That's an invasion of my privacy, she said coldly. She didn't even apologize for the content itself. I asked about Cormac. Is it true? You've been with him for 5 years? My voice trembled. but the anger steadied me enough to keep from stuttering much. She paused, just a split-second flicker of shock on her face. Then she scoffed. "You're being overdramatic. He's just a friend. A friend you text about sneaking away to hotels with," I said. Lisa's expression hardened. "You know what? Maybe if you were man enough, I wouldn't have to get attention elsewhere." My teeth clenched. "Is that what your father thinks too? Because from what I've read, he's known this entire time." She bristled. "My father stands by me. That's what a real family does. Maybe you should think about how you haven't measured up. Your stuttering, your timidness. You're an embarrassment, Warren. Don't act surprised that people notice." I said nothing more. I quietly grabbed my jacket and left the apartment. In my car, I sat behind the wheel for a good 5 minutes, hands shaking. This betrayal was so vast it felt unreal. Anger hummed in my veins. A voice in my head said, "She's not just cruel, so is her father. They deserve consequences." My lawyer and I began the steps for divorce, but as I sifted through finances, I started noticing little overlaps. Lisa funneling joint money into her personal account for fancy items, forging receipts at work to claim personal dinners as client meetings. She was a newly promoted account manager at the same company I worked for, though we were in different buildings. I was in IT, so I had enough knowledge to see that these expenses were suspicious. I also kept collecting personal evidence, phone backups, copies of her texts, and especially recordings. I bought a handful of cheap voice-activated recorders and planted them around the apartment. I slipped one under the couch, taped another inside the lampshade. Quietly, methodically, I waited. Within days, I had her father, Kobe, on audio, discussing the affair with Lisa. "Kobe, Cormac says he's worried your husband's suspecting something. That stuttering fool's not as dumb as we think." Lisa, laughing. "Dad, Warren isn't going to do anything. He'd sooner trip over his own words than confront me. We've got him exactly where we want him. Besides, with your connections, he can't really fight back." They also talked about business deals, about covering for Lisa if she needed an alibi, about how they didn't want to jeopardize the partnership with Cormac. I listened to hours of them spouting cruelty, confidently mocking me. In a calmer moment, I might have confronted them legally, let lawyers handle it. But I was done being the nice, stuttering pushover. I wanted more than a clean exit. I wanted them to feel fear, to understand that mocking me had a cost. My connection to a certain biker club named Red Vultures came through my old friend Patrick. He once mentioned they did odd jobs, intimidation included, for the right price. I reached out, though I was trembling the entire time. This wasn't me, or at least the old me. But now, vengeance overshadowed any moral qualms. I discovered that Kobe and Cormac planned a day trip to a fishing lake about 2 hours from our city. Lisa called her father one afternoon. "Lisa, Dad, Cormac wants to finalize that deal. Says it'll be nice to combine business with fishing on Saturday. You two have fun. Kobe, we'll both be out there around dawn. No wives, no prying eyes. I'll bring the whiskey." I recognized an opportunity. That day, they'd be completely isolated. No witnesses, except a few scattered fishermen. Perfect for sabotage. I contacted Patrick, who introduced me to a man named Diesel. Diesel was tall, broad, covered in tattoos of snarling animals perched on a gleaming black Harley. He listened to my request. Rough them up, scare them, smash some property, but no permanent damage. Diesel grimaced, named a price steep enough to make me hesitate, then said, "We can do it. We have a couple guys who will come. You sure you want to cross this line?" I thought of Lisa mocking my stutter, of Kobe's laughter, of their 5-year affair behind my back. "Yes," I said, "I'm sure." As the plan took shape, I couldn't stop revisiting that Christmas dinner in my mind. The ornaments glinting on the tree, my stutter, her father's high five, Lisa's sneer. The humiliation still felt raw. My stutter had worsened since then, a constant reminder of how powerless I felt that night. But setting this operation in motion gave me a vicious sense of control I'd never felt before. I wasn't proud of it. Part of me felt sick. But another part whispered, "They deserve it. Let them taste the dirt they shoved in your face. Let them see how broken you really are." Saturday morning arrived. I didn't go anywhere near that lake. Diesel told me not to. "We'll handle it," he'd said. "I'll come see you after. Got that?" I agreed. I just sat in my new, half-furnished apartment, heart hammering, waiting for the phone to ring. It was nearly noon when Diesel finally called. "Job's done. We're on our way back. I'll give you a full update in person." Then he hung up, leaving me in an anxious sweat. About an hour later, Diesel pulled up outside in a dark SUV, no bikes in sight. Another man hopped out too, a hulking figure with mirrored sunglasses. They sauntered into my living room. The air reeked of gasoline and sweat. I swallowed. "So?" I asked, my stomach twisting. Diesel exchanged a glance with his partner, then rolled his neck as though stiff from exertion. "It was a clean job. Here's what happened from the top." He began recounting it in a steady, matter-of-fact tone. "We tailed Kobe's SUV and that fancy BMW your wife's boyfriend was driving. Stayed a few cars behind until they turned off onto the lakeside road. They parked near the water. No one else around for at least 100 yards. We waited until they set up their fishing rods. When they were nice and settled on the bank, we rode in, two of my guys on bikes, me driving the SUV with another trunk monkey in the back. We parked a few meters behind their vehicles, hopped out. They saw us then, started hollering, "Hey, what the hell do you want?" We didn't answer. My guy Rick walked right up to that black BMW, took out a hunting knife, and slashed the front tire. Shh, air just leaking out. Kobe's brows shot up about a mile. He shouted, "Stop! I'll call the cops!" Then Tony, my other buddy, tackled him right on the spot. Kobe went down, facing the muddy bank. Then we turned to Cormac. He tried to bolt, but Tony snagged his collar, yanking him backward. He landed on his back, flailing. I told them, "You messing with the wrong people. This is a warning, boys." Kobe started sputtering about money, about how they had resources. Rick just calmly took out his blade and slashed the second tire, and the third, slicing that fancy paint job too. For the SUV, we hammered out the headlights and popped the hood. Eventually, we started shoving them both. They stumbled into the shallow part of the lake, water up to their hips, flapping around like idiots. Then Rick shoved them so they tripped forward, got their faces wet in the murky water. Their fishing rods, snapped them. Tackle boxes, dumped them out, stomped everything. Tony gave Cormac a good smack across the cheek, had to make it real. Kobe tried to talk big again, so Tony slapped him too, a decent whack on the ear. They both fell face down in the mud. We pinned them there, rubbed their faces in the dirt. The older guy was shaking, swearing. We told them, "Hope you learned your lesson. Next time it'll be worse. Don't cross us again." Then we hopped back in our vehicles, left them with 4 slashed tires, destroyed rods, and soaked suits. As we drove off, they were flailing around, trying to gather what was left of their gear. They were humiliated exactly like you wanted. End of story. Diesel finished, hooking his thumbs in his belt. My heart jackhammered with conflicting emotions, satisfaction, guilt, relief. "Good," I managed to say. "Thank you." He gave me a thin smile. "Our price is the rest of what we agreed." I dragged out an envelope from a locked desk drawer and handed it over, all cash. He counted it silently, nodded, and then he and his partner left. I went to the sink, poured myself a glass of water. My hands shook. I downed the water in a single gulp. I thought about Kobe and Cormac, muddy and terrified, and I felt a dark satisfaction coil in my chest. They had ridiculed me for years. Now they knew what it felt like to be cornered, powerless, but a voice in my head whispered, "You've crossed a line." I didn't hear from Lisa that night. I figured she'd hear about the attack from her father soon enough. The next morning, though, I caught a piece of their conversation on a voice recorder back at the old apartment. I was still technically living there, just moving out slowly. In the living room, Lisa's phone rang. Lisa. "Dad, oh my God, are you all right?" Kobe, voice trembling. "Some maniacs attacked us by the lake. We think it's business related. They said we messed with the wrong people." I have no idea who those psychos are." Lisa. "Why would anyone target you and Cormac like that?" Kobe. "I don't know, but they destroyed our cars. We barely got a tow truck out there, and they sprayed mud in our faces, ridiculed us. This is humiliating. I was going to report it, but Cormac says we should lay low. If the business partnership with those guys is compromised..." Lisa. "Dad, oh my God. We need to figure out who's behind this." She never once considered I might be the culprit, at least not in that snippet of conversation. That fact alone gave me a smug satisfaction. The stuttering pushover wasn't even on their radar, but it wouldn't stay that way for long. Days passed. The tension in the house was thicker than stale coffee. Lisa paced on phone calls, furiously whispering about legal action, about needing security, about how Cormac is so angry and Dad's losing it. Meanwhile, I continued my plan to leave. My lawyer was finalizing the divorce documents. I was transferring funds into a separate account. Lisa barely noticed, preoccupied with the fiasco from the lake attack. Then, one evening, as I was packing a suitcase in secret, I overheard another phone call of hers, only this time through the recorder under the couch. Lisa. "All I'm saying is someone targeted you and Dad specifically. I need to make sure they don't come after me next. Of course Warren doesn't have a clue. He's barely around these days." A pause. Yes, but you need to figure out who the hell they are. Dad can't lose face in front of business partners. We have to keep the story under wraps." I remember biting my lip to keep from chuckling. If only she knew. The husband she mocked had orchestrated the whole damn ambush. My stutter had improved slightly that week, probably from the twisted sense of control I'd gained. As all this unfolded, I discovered something else. While rummaging through Lisa's father's text messages, accessed from Lisa's cloud backups, which also saved some of Kobe's data for reasons I never quite understood, I found proof that Kobe himself had a lover on the side. She was around 30, half his age, from what I could gather. The messages were lewd, full of "miss your body, baby," and "can't wait for next time." So, her father, who had enabled Lisa's affair, was also cheating on his own wife, Donna. The entire family thrived on deceit. Fueled by my anger, I hired a private investigator who took photos of Kobe meeting this woman at a hotel in broad daylight. I had them emailed directly to Donna. The next day, I heard Lisa screaming at someone on the phone about Mom's meltdown, about how Dad ruined everything. Kobe had no idea who'd exposed him. He probably assumed it was a competitor or someone else from his business circle. Meanwhile, I was hawking the entire fiasco through secondhand glimpses, quietly packing my things. 3 weeks after the fisherman fiasco, Lisa announced she'd be leaving for a short business trip. She sounded stressed, borderline frantic, but she insisted she had to go. I recognized it was my perfect chance to move. I'd already signed the lease on a one-bedroom near my workplace, had a truck rented for a single day. The moment GPS showed she was halfway to her destination, I executed my final plan. 3 friends helped me load up my desk, bed frame, personal boxes. I left anything we'd bought together, the couch, the dining table, the TV. I took the cat, Pixel, who was originally mine anyway. I wrote a calm, emotionless note. Lisa, I have moved out and am filing for divorce. My lawyer's info is attached. I've taken 50% of our joint savings, my legal share, everything else remains. Don't contact me except through my lawyer, Warren. Then I locked up, walked out, and never looked back. I also had a separate letter drafted to the landlord, explaining that I would not be renewing the lease. I copied Lisa on email so she'd know. I slept in my new apartment that night, everything echoey and half-furnished, but it felt more like home than anywhere I'd been in years. I noticed that crawling tension in my throat had lessened. My speech felt freer. I realized how much stress had come from living under Lisa's scorn every day. Lisa discovered my absence Sunday evening. She bombarded my phone with texts and voicemails. 7:43 p.m. Where are you? Where's all your stuff? 7:47 p.m. Are you serious right now? You just leave while I'm gone? Real mature. 8:02 p.m. You took money from our account. My dad says that's illegal. 8:16 p.m. Answer your phone, Warren. This isn't funny. I didn't respond. Her sister Malene texted me too. Lisa's losing it. Can you please talk to her? I told Malene that I was done and to respect my decision. Meanwhile, back at her office, news broke that accounting flagged Lisa's suspicious expense reports. She was suspended pending investigation. Then, the same day she arrived home to find me gone, she got served with divorce papers at work. The meltdown was thorough and unstoppable. Suddenly, I was the villain in her eyes. She claimed I hacked her account, framed her for expense fraud. Her father threatened to sue me, but apparently his own lawyer said they had no case. I quietly went about furnishing my new place, ignoring her attempts at contact. Over the next 6 months, Lisa's texts arrived in bursts. You humiliated me at work. This is about Christmas, isn't it? It was one joke. Get over it. My dad says what you did with the money is financial abuse. Please just talk to me that we can fix this. I'm sorry about the stutter thing, okay? Is that what you want to hear? I never replied. My lawyer told me not to. I had all the evidence, videos, texts with her father ridiculing me. The divorce was moving forward at a slow but steady pace. I heard rumors she lost her job for good, something about forging too many receipts to claim as business dinners. Her father, reeling from the lake ambush and his personal scandal, had bigger worries. Word was that Lisa moved back in with her parents after losing her job. Cormac apparently distanced himself. The mighty trifecta that had so confidently mocked me at Christmas was unraveling under the weight of their own lies, and a bit of well-placed sabotage. 6 months after I left, I was at home, sinking into the couch on a Saturday evening. That's when I heard a frantic pounding on my door. I checked the peephole. Lisa, hair wild, mascara streaked, tears. The sight twisted my gut. I froze, not wanting to engage. She started shouting, Warren, open up! I know you're in there. Please, I just want to talk. I nearly let her scream herself hoarse. Part of me was afraid. Part of me wanted to watch her suffer from behind the locked door. But the banging continued, and my phone pinged. It was Malene. Lisa's there. Please hear her out. She's having a breakdown. She found out her new boyfriend was cheating on her. She's in a bad place. I'm on my way. I sighed. Finally, I cracked the door open with the chain still on, a few inches of view. Lisa's eyes were bloodshot, lips trembling. Warren, please, she said in a ragged whisper. Let me in. I said nothing, just stared. She dropped to her knees, right there on the grimy apartment hallway carpet. Warren, I messed up so bad. I lost everything. The job, Cormac. My dad's in a total meltdown. Mom hates him now. I can't do this alone. I need you. Her pitiful state astonished me. She'd never shown me that kind of vulnerability before. I stared down at the woman who once recorded me in secret, posted videos mocking my stutter. The coldness inside me felt justified. I unlatched the chain, but I didn't move aside. We just stood in my doorway, face to face. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. No stutter. She pressed her palms together as if praying. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but we were together 5 years. We were married 3. Please, can we just talk it out? I narrowed my eyes. Talk about what exactly? How you mocked me, cheated on me for years? Let your father degrade me for your own entertainment? She started sobbing, deep, ugly sobs. I know I was a terrible wife. I've been going to therapy, I swear. I realize how cruel I was. I lost track of what mattered. I can't do this anymore, Warren. I miss you. She paused, snot dripping from her nose, voice choked. I really do, I swear. All you miss is having someone to scapegoat, I said coldly. We're done, Lisa. The divorce is nearly final. You only come crawling back because you've got no one else. She trembled, reached for my arm. I stepped away. That's when I heard heavy footsteps behind her. Kobe, her father, stormed up the hallway, eyes blazing. He wore a cheap leather jacket, bruises still faintly visible near his ear. Souvenirs from the fishing fiasco. He didn't even look at Lisa at first. He glared at me with unmasked rage. You son of a... I know you're responsible for that attack at the lake, he snarled. You think we're stupid? You managed to humiliate me, sabotage my business, turn my wife against me. Kobe, don't, Lisa begged. I just wanted to talk to him. This isn't about that. Oh, it's about that, Kobe growled, stepping forward, chest puffed. He tried to shoulder past Lisa, lunging at me. I braced myself in the doorway, blocking him. My adrenaline spiked. You want to come into my home? I asked quietly. You've got a lot of nerve. He pointed a finger in my face, practically spitting. You ruined everything. People talk, you know. They say you somehow found out about the affair, about the expense fiasco, about my deals, and you orchestrated that attack. I ought to... Dad, stop, Lisa cried. You're not helping. But he came at me again, trying to shove past the threshold. Anger flared in me, a savage pulse. I grabbed the front of his jacket, used his momentum, and shoved him back into the hallway. He stumbled into Lisa, who had to jump aside to avoid being knocked over. He glared, fists clenched as if ready for a fight. Get out of here, I said, my voice cutting through the tension. I don't know what fantasy you've concocted, but if you dare put your hands on me again, I'll call the cops. You, your daughter. None of you belong here. Kobe tried to lunge once more. This time, I slapped him, a fast, loud crack across the cheek. The hallway echo rang in my ears. Lisa gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Kobe's eyes widened with shock. So did mine. I'd never struck anyone like that in my life. But there was no turning back. The satisfaction was terrible and immediate. He clutched his cheek, momentarily stunned. I seized the door, stared at him with all the hatred I'd built up over 5 years, and hissed, If you ever come near me again, it'll be worse than a slap. Then I slammed it shut, flicked the deadbolt, and turned the chain. From the peephole, I watched him stand there, panting, face reddening. Lisa was on her knees again, tears streaming. He grabbed her elbow, yanked her upright. We're leaving, he hissed. She stared at the door, sobbing my name, but he dragged her away down the corridor. Their muffled yelling receded into the distance. I pressed my back to the door, chest heaving, still trembling from the confrontation. My mind raced with everything that had happened. Lisa's betrayal, the videos, the father's complicity, the biker ambush, the heartbreak, that Christmas dinner. I realized I hadn't stuttered once. My voice had been perfectly steady under pressure. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. I half expected the father to try breaking in or pounding on my door again, but the hallway soon fell silent. Eventually, I sank onto my couch. Pixel the cat meowed, hopping onto my lap. I leaned back, heart still thudding in my chest. The sensation of finality washed over me, though I knew there was more legal red tape before the divorce was officially done. The father had wanted to keep me small and scared. The daughter had mocked me, called me a broken machine. But there I was, locking them out of my own home, having orchestrated their humiliation at the lake. Did it make me a villain? Possibly. But I felt no regret. I was done being their victim. Minutes later, I got a text from Malene. Warren, I heard Dad tried to attack you. I'm so sorry. Lisa can't stop crying. This is all a mess. I just wanted to say I understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you need anything, I'm here. I didn't reply. I was drained, like all the fight had left me. In the last 6 months, I'd transformed from a stammering, humiliated husband to someone capable of hiring muscle to break a man's nose if I wanted. I'd used the same cunning Lisa had once ridiculed as non-existent. I no longer recognized myself, but for the first time in a long time, I felt powerful. The next day, I woke with a pounding head. The night before still hung over me. I made coffee, stood on the small balcony, and watched people head to work. My mind played it all again. Lisa crying, Kobe's rage, my slap. I held my phone, thought about calling the lawyer to report Kobe's break-in. I didn't. I shut the phone off. I needed quiet. The divorce was weeks away. Let him stew. Maybe my stutter would come back. But for now, I felt calm. The place was set up. My cat loved the windowsill. No more jabs at how I spoke, no more insults. I was free to live how I chose. I spent Sunday cleaning. My phone buzzed. Unknown numbers. I didn't answer. I ate a simple lunch, hung a poster. Pixel chased dust in the sun. The day felt still, like after a storm. They might try charges, but Kobe didn't want cops sniffing around. Lisa had no job now, no backup. Cormac was out. Even if they guessed what I did, there was no proof. I was safe. But deep down, I knew it was wrong. I set them up to feel shame, just like I had. Maybe that made me just as bad. But I didn't care. I'd been the victim too long. Now I was the villain. Maybe that's what it took to win. A few days later, my lawyer said the divorce was ready to sign. Lisa stopped fighting. Her job was in trouble. The money was gone. Kobe's mess topped it all. I thought there'd be one last fight. But it had passed. When they showed up at my door, Kobe's black eye said it all. Malene texted, "They're a mess. Dad's mad, but he's lost. Mom's leaving him. Lisa's in therapy. Just thought you'd want to know." I replied, "I hope you find peace." She hadn't helped me, but she hadn't hurt me either. And that was enough.